All right, we're live on Hack City. Sean, I don't know if you watched the end of that Minnesota game, but that had to have been one of the most nerve-wracking ways for a game to end. I still blame you for mushing me. First of all, we're not going to address that right now, but you didn't need to put a bet after the game started. You didn't need to put one down. That was completely unnecessary. But to watch as Brosmer finally puts together a fantastic drive, which I don't know why they weren't throwing the ball the way that they did in that final drive more throughout that game. After he strings the drive together, the freaking big dumbass kicker misses what should have been not a layup, but a pretty completable kick after the other kicker completely smoked his ass, hitting 4 in one game. That was unbelievable way for that game to end. But by the way, North Carolina, side thought here, in addition to my qualms, they don't have anything but Omarion Hampton. That all they can do is just, hey, Omarion Hampton, run the ball up the middle, and we'll see if he can make a couple guys miss.
First of all, I'm sick to my stomach that I lost that bet. I tried to snipe.
You didn't need to be. You didn't need to be. You didn't need to be. You didn't bet that before the game started.
This doesn't have to be a contentious year. It doesn't have to be. It was the right play at that moment. I have no faith in UNC, and this is how UNC dupes the nation, because they get lucky-ass wins like this, where they just scrape by, then they have a good record, and they fall apart. They'll fall apart quicker this season than they have previously, but that was a pretty demoralizing missed kick, as I'm still looking to get to even halfway to the green towards college football betting this season. I mean, my phone is just, Sean, what's your play? Here's my play. Week 1's trappy. Be very careful with these lines. Don't put full units on them. These are the texts I'm sending out. 11:30 at night, I'm getting FaceTime calls. Man, what the hell did you send us? What was this?
Did you tell people to take
they're
Minnesota?
Asking they're asking for my plays.
Okay. If you had mushed me and then a bunch of other people, you're just a bad person. If that was
Do you
true.
think I wanted that bet to miss? Do you think I wanted
I think you did. I think that you did.
Rip up $15 and flush it down the toilet? That's what you wanted from me?
Yeah,
I'm sure. How about, you know what? Why did Mac Brown grab PJ Fleck like that at the end of the game? Did you see that? That was a ridiculous move to manhandle him after getting away with one.
Absolute psychopath.
That was a weird Godfather move with Mac Brown's old ass clutching the back of PJ Fleck's neck like that. Don't do that. Just shake the hand. We've seen enough of the NFL coaches get mad. It was who was it? Jim Schwartz, and was it a Harbaugh? Yeah, they had a beef after a game. Arthur Smith got into the mix last year against Dennis Allen.
Wasn't that for? But that wasn't because
that was for running up the score. But these coaches, they're temperamental at times.
Yeah.
If I was a head coach in college, if I was a head coach in high school, in the NFL, I am saying, good game, sir. Shake the hand, and then maybe we could talk on the phone later if you really have something you need to say. I'm not doing any big gesturing, anything anybody can read into after the game, especially with a lucky ass win like that.
Well, we're not here to talk specifically about that game. We're going to get to talking about tonight, Colorado versus North Dakota State. Recap of that game. It was insane way that game transpired at the end of it. Just I don't even know if I could really totally call it a bungling of coaching decisions. Just didn't feel like coherent, logical, just moves by either team, the way that game finalized. We're also going to talk a little bit about our best bets for today. And then Brandon Ayuik getting his massive new contract to stay in San Francisco. And then lastly, if we have time, we're going to talk about Mike McDaniel getting extended to stay in Miami past 2024. We're going to hit the music, hit the break God damn, I can't talk. We're going to hit the break, and then when we come back, we're going to hear from Bet Online.
And now, back to your regular programming.
If you speak better to yourself.
You showed up for probably the dumbest conversation we've ever had on this show.
Let's have that smile again.
Tell me how that happens. Physically should not happen.
Relax.
If you say
Give me as well.
3 times a day, God will line it up.
He's just an absolute hack, and he gets his ass kicked by the teammates every week. It's just terrible.
Maybe we should go lunch hour. Maybe that wouldn't be a bad idea to do going forward. We'll figure that out.
I think we'll just do what we got to do, and then we'll adjust.
Okay,
That's what
that's a fair-
we have to.
that's a fair-
I'm giving you some coach speak
Sure.
right now.
Yeah, that was real. I almost snapped at you. I was like, that's kind of total coach speak there. That's not really what I was looking for.
Having the mid-show production meetings is a tough look, though. So I'm
It's not a mi- I think that what makes the show interesting is that we are way more candid than most people. So just randomly throwing out there when we might be willing to go live at a different time is not outside of the realm of what we normally do. I want to start talking about this Colorado and North Dakota State game that happened on Thursday night. The outcome of it was expected in the sense that Colorado won. I think a lot of people were anticipating that they'd win, including ourselves, that we believed that the Buffaloes were going to be able to outhandle the Bison in this situation. But for how close it was, for how long of this game that North Dakota State felt like they could have taken over and won it, it is certainly concerning for Colorado that was how they showed up in week 1. For the North Dakota State angle, very quickly, I thought Cam Miller looked phenomenal. He had 3 touchdowns, over 270 yards passing. His completion percentage was great. Some of the plays that he had, extending plays with his legs, were to the level that we're used to seeing from Cam Miller. I think that this team isn't vastly better, but I understand why some have made the argument of why they should be the number 1 FCS team. When we do the FCS recap show, I think we're going to dive a little bit deeper on this, but North Dakota State really flashed some great things for me. I understand that they did benefit from a very lucky turnover that could have helped them really solidify them potentially winning that game, where it bounced off of the one defensive back's calf. But outside of that, they still looked really stout defensively. They were getting a really consistent rush with 4 guys, maybe sometimes sending a 5th. They didn't have to go all out crazy on sending pressure. Their defensive backs were a little rough, but the running game was as good as we're used to seeing, and they were able to develop and open up their passing attack effectively. Feels like easier than they have in the past.
Yeah, I didn't see a bet online prop for Cam Miller to get ripped out of the plastic and start acting brand new, but he did. And briefly on bet online, they have every stat, every matchup, even
I
live
forgot
odds
to
and
tell you to
spreads.
do
Well,
that,
I'm
yeah.
a professional, so
Okay.
let me interject during my
Yeah.
smooth transition. Why don't you? Look, it's no secret I've been ice cold in my personal life, starting off with this college football season. It's always tricky in week 1, but it's so much fun to bet on the games. It feels like football is back. Feels like you're buying your own ticket to the game when you put a little wager down. Go to Bet Online. That's where you want to do your sports gambling at. And you think you know your stuff, get in on their $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance to add weekly prizes and a share of $200K. When the game's over, they got the online casino. Go play blackjack or poker with all your winnings. I still have yet to been able to go and have fun in the online casino because I have to keep reloading. Head to the website today and get in on the action. Bet Online, the game starts here.
All right, to get back to what we're talking about with North Dakota State, though, thoughts on their performance?
Yeah, Cam Miller was shockingly good in that game. And we had seen Cam Miller improve. We saw him improve 2 years ago. We saw him improve last year. And this year, it looked like a whole different quarterback. His confidence in the pocket was felt. I saw the way that he was running the offense. He looked confident running the offense. He didn't look scared of Colorado. He didn't look like he was intimidated by any of the pressures. Everything that was getting thrown at him, it looked like he had an answer for, which was great to see. What North Dakota throwing in freaking Peyton Stone or whatever Cole Payton for two plays at a time. That was one of the bigger coaching bunglings that I've seen. If you want that big Adonis to run for 2 yards,
I don't know if I classify him as an Adonis. That would be a little bit polite.
His biceps. Yeah, I take another.
I think he's just a big oaf. I think that's what he is. I think Adonis is very.
If you want the big oaf to come in and fall forward 2 yards on a 3rd and short, go ahead and do that.
This isn't an Adonis. You kidding me?
Scroll up. Look at his pipes.
He's got big arms. He's got big
pipes.
arms. He's 6'3", 235. Of course, he's got big pipes. But look at
You're
him.
focusing it on the facial features
Look
for
at
an Adonis.
That's important for defining an Adonis. What are you talking about?
Give me a break. He's shredded, and a shredded quarterback is good for running for a first down. I don't have much confidence in shredded quarterbacks going and throwing 2-yard outs, which he didn't do that good at. So the game plan for NDSU felt disjointed at times, where Cole Payton didn't need to be in the game for more than 5 snaps. He didn't need to, and it felt like he was. North Dakota State showed me a lot on defense. Their defensive discipline was strong. Some of the tackling was tough, but Colorado does have some of the most slippery outside receivers in the nation, where they can break tackles. Travis Hunter was a menace. I'm not going to chalk up a bunch of L's on North Dakota State for seeing Travis Hunter do what he did. He's a spectacular talent. That is not a condemnation on them, but rather just a peak performance from that great athlete. North Dakota State, I think, buys a lot of goodwill with this game for the rest of the FCS season. This is a legit opponent. It is with legit outside threat talent and a very good quarterback. And the very good quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, did use the scheme well. They passed it over the middle. I don't think North Dakota State is going to face a lot of teams this year that do exactly that or have the ability to clear it out deep and then also have a threat on a deep corner, deep post, wherever you want to put the ball, like Sanders and company did.
This is unlike anything that either team is going to see for the rest of the year. I think Colorado getting to face North Dakota State early was good for them. One of the things I said leading up to this week, no matter the outcome, as long as they win, it is a good barometer for figuring out what your issues are. It is a good opportunity to build a little bit of confidence, which I don't know how much confidence you get out of a game like that. But to go up against an opponent that's going to punch you in the mouth for 4 quarters, which they did, and to come out and survive it against a team that is a powerhouse at their level, or at one point was a powerhouse, maybe not the same level as before, is a strong test of just your team's just character and ability to fight through adversity. Despite that, though, Colorado did not look clean in a number of things. Shedeur Sanders played his ass off, 445 passing yards. I don't count the interception, but the 4 passing touchdowns that he had, it was freaking phenomenal. The connections that he was able to have with his receivers, I don't know how much Travis Hunter was in, but it felt like every time that they did call on him and we knew that he was getting the football, they knew he was getting the football, he was coming down with that football, especially that ridiculous late touchdown catch that he had. Their defense made stops when they needed. I thought their defensive line looked better than it's been for what they were dealing with an offensive line that their mentality and has had a higher success rate than Colorado of putting offensive linemen into the NFL with the mentality of, we're just going to put our heads down and run through you. The fact that they were able to get penetration and get stops against the run game, I feel much better about that defense. Where I still have serious concern for Colorado, serious concern, is their offensive line, man. They try to get the run game going, and I kept bringing this up saying that I appreciate that they're trying to run the football. And at a certain point, they did seemingly not abandon it, but move away from it. Dallin Hayden had 9 for 20 yards, 9 carries for 20 yards, 2.2 yards per carry. Shedeur, as a runner, didn't really have any design runs. He only rushes for 17 yards. It doesn't really count towards what we're talking about. Charlie Orfadal had 5 for 15 for 3 yards per carry. They had a ridiculously brutal time trying to pick up yards on the ground. I put a lot of that on Pat Shurmur, who I talked about a ton during the live watch party. I don't care if you're going to smirk at that because I don't like Pat Shurmur as a Giants fan.
Man. I'm not smirking.
But seriously, we watched a team in North Dakota State have so much creativity with how they were running the football, with the counters, with the end arounds, sometimes getting a little too cute, but they were able to put a team on their heels sometimes because their opponent didn't know where the ball was going to be going. And all Pat Shurmur did was run like the same concept over and over again to complete failure. And then the last part, the amount of times when they were throwing the ball and there were 4 or 5 man rushes coming through and guys were blasting through that offensive line as easily as they did to get pressures on Shedeur Sanders, this could be another really long season. I will give them the benefit of the doubt because it's a new group together. It might take them some time. But God, that offensive line looked like shit.
Yeah, the tackle play was decent for Colorado. I didn't see a lot of pressure coming down on Shedeur from the edges. It was the interior.
All in the interior.
Interior 3 was very rough. And the Shurmur inside zone, inside run philosophy is eventually it's going to break. If we keep on hitting the hammer on the nail, it's eventually going to go through the wood.
That is stupid. That's stupid.
It's so stupid. Because, okay, if we keep spreading them out, eventually an inside run will go for 40. No, that's not how it works. There has to be, if you want inside run to work, inside zone to work, you have to set up outside zone. You have to set up pitches. You have to set up running the ball to the outside to get the linebacker's eyes off the A gaps immediately. Because if you're a linebacker for North Dakota State last night, and you're watching a possible run situation, you're not looking to the B, C, or D gaps. You just wouldn't, because they kept on running it up through the A gaps. There was no differentiation there. There was no mix for the offensive line to run and get outside wide and let a fast running back try to get a corner. It was, we're going to throw to the outside, we're going to throw it deep, and we're going to run it up the middle. That's not a diverse offensive scheme. And that's going to hurt them. Oh, we're trying to hold. Maybe they're trying to hold on to the mid zone and the outside zone for next week and the weeks after. Not in a game that's as tight as that. You need to pull out the stops. If you have plays in the playbook that you're withholding in a close, tight game against the FCS powerhouse, use them. You need to. This whole it felt stubborn. The offense last night for Colorado.
Well, it
felt stubborn.
That is the epitome of Pat Shurmur, because and that's literally why Pat Shurmur got fired as the Giants head coach, and why he was done as quickly as he was as the offensive coordinator for the Broncos, is because he's the most stubborn, boneheaded play caller ever.
It's frustrating.
It's so vanilla what he calls. And yeah, there's going to be plays that break open the way that they did. The talent gap between Colorado's receivers and North Dakota State's defensive backs was enormous. It was big, so that they were able to get the massive splash plays that they were able to produce in that game. But he calls such a vanilla, stupid offense because he thinks that eventually those plays will work at some point if he keeps calling similar concepts. And it doesn't work like that, Pat. For the love of God, you should have stayed an offensive analyst. It pains me so much that they couldn't have been creative in going and hiring somebody else. Instead, that you just bring in the biggest doofus of a play caller who has never been good at it. Even when he was the play caller at the Minnesota Vikings, when he got hired away to be the Giants head coach, they were good, but they weren't like in some upper echelon elite category. And how much do we give that credit to Kirk Cousins? He's such a dumbass. I'm so sick of Pat Shurmur. And if they fail to reach their goals this year and they fail to be as good as we were hoping, it's going to be because of Pat Shurmur's actually, it's not even lazy. Just lame, inept play calling. I can't call it lazy because he thinks that he's clearly right, and he is not. I'm not going to hit the panic button, though, after that spiel. I'm not going to hit the panic button, though, because I do think a game like this, when you go up against an elite top 3 FCS program and you're challenged like this, it's going to pay dividends later on in the year. When they play their first Big 12 team and these same deficiencies show up and they lose, if that happens, then the conversation we're going to be having on the show is going to be very different. But I'm not going to freak out after 1 week. You know what I actually kind of did feel like? Felt like how Florida State did when we were watching them, where you could see all the pieces, but they just weren't playing together cohesively because there's so many transfer portal guys.
Yeah, I do inherently respect the Florida State, and I respect Colorado and these teams in week 1 or week 0 that give themselves a legit matchup. Maybe we didn't think Georgia Tech was as legit as they were going to be. They're more than we thought. They're more legit than thought previously. I respect Colorado for not scheduling, Portland State week 1 or any of these other FCS programs that might not put up as much of a fight. They knew North Dakota State was going to be a challenge. They were a challenge. And I will never admonish a team that is trying to put together a respectable schedule. It is something that I will appreciate. Teams that open up the season with a hard test and it's not the warm-up game. Like, I appreciate Texas A&M and Notre Dame, no matter how that game shakes out, for deciding week 1 we're kicking it off with a humdinger. Same thing, Clemson, Georgia. I like that. I respect it. It's not just going to be a week of walk-through games against rough FCS teams, and Alabama's the king of that. I know they got Western Kentucky, and they're not a true pushover, but there's a difference. There is. So Colorado did earn my respect by scheduling a tough opponent, and they did look tough, and it was a hard-fought game. But goodness, they do have some holes on that team that need to be addressed quickly.
I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, though, because games are going to be played tomorrow. But I tweeted this out, and it went. It was very misunderstood by those that aren't FCS fans, and all the FCS fans that I have that follow me understood exactly what I was getting at. So I tweeted that if last night's game was any indicator of how South Dakota State versus Oklahoma State's going to go, it's going to be a dogfight. A lot of normal FBS fans, I'm like, what are you talking about? Oklahoma State's nothing like Colorado. That's not what I was comparing.
Yeah.
I was comparing the fact that South Dakota State is this reigning national champion who is, in my opinion, you don't share the same sentiment, in a separate category of all the other FCS teams. Elite of the elite, going up against a better Big 12 team. That is the game that we watched last night on a grander scale because both teams are better. That's what I was trying to say that was completely misunderstood by a ton of people on Twitter when I tweeted that out. Both of these teams have high stakes. South Dakota State wants to prove, hey, you shouldn't have scheduled us. We're the best team in the country. We're going to continue our undefeated streak. And Oklahoma State wants to be able to say, you know, we're not afraid to schedule a tough FCS matchup. We're not afraid to show up and fight. A lot of people, one thing that I saw people saying was like, North Dakota State proves that the top FCS programs have way more talent than people realize. That was also a pretty clear indicator, and that goes in line with what I was getting at, is that if North Dakota State looked that good and that close against Colorado, imagine what South Dakota State's going to look like playing against Oklahoma State.
I love the questions that we've gotten before. What would happen if the top teams went into the MAC? What would happen if the MAC was absorbed by the top teams of the FCS? Yeah. The FCS teams would hold their own just fine. They would do just fine. You see that week in, week out.
I would go a step further than just fine. I really think that like the top 5 FCS teams would easily win the MAC, the Sun Belt. Trying to think.
CUSA.
Yeah, CUSA. Probably not the American or the Mountain West because those conferences are pretty tough. But I think that they could win those conferences.
I would agree. The premier programs, they get fired up when they're put on a big stage and they don't shy away, and that comes with winning. South Dakota State learning how to win, especially deep into the season, I think has transformed their program from a very good competitive team to a team that can take down anybody. That is when you win a couple national championships and you go on a long win streak, there's something that changes within you where you're not hoping to win, you're knowing you're going to win. And if you're losing in the game, it's immediately, why are we doing this? Let's find the fix.
Yeah.
The winning program versus losing program in college football, it gets healed with 3 years of winning. I truly believe that. And it changes a culture. It just takes a little bit. And South Dakota State truly changed their culture, and they have become an elite program. And I think Oklahoma State, oh yeah, we did our reading now. I guess they're well aware of what South Dakota State is. You think you are? Just wait. It'll be a fun Saturday.
I still have people commenting and asking, where did you see people saying that Oklahoma State fans and pundits are overlooking South Dakota State? I haven't seen that anywhere. It was the Locked On Oklahoma State show, and then there was a second one that it's on Twitter. It's being reshared a ton on Twitter. Chad's the one who keeps posting it. Ron brings up an interesting point. We've seen it with teams that have moved up from the FCS. There's a lot of truth to that because the recruiting actually goes backwards when you move up. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but you're not changing the amount of resources going into a program, and recruits want to go and play for teams that could win a title theoretically. You know, they want to play and go to a playoff. So would you rather sign up to go to JMU or App State right now and go to the Armed Forces Bowl, or would you rather play in a semifinal and play for a national championship and say that you won a national championship? If you're not going to the college football playoff, why wouldn't you set yourself up for an opportunity to win something that's more exciting than just a stupid bowl game?
Well, now the big G5 fishing lure for recruits has to be, well, look, the G5 has a spot in the playoff. If you come here, we can have a shot and be the 12th seed. You know, that's the big lure that's sitting right now. But I understand why NDSU and South Dakota State get so many good recruits, because guys want rings. It's an important ring, and the more you learn about the subdivision, you realize how valued it is as well.
Where did we're gonna move on to best bets for week 1 right now? Where did last week's bets go? Where did you put them?
They're in the bottom here. I cleared them, and then I have the
see
the betting picks at the bottom.
All right, I'm just double checking
With the correct math. Thank you.
I'm just double checking.
Joe went 2 wins, 1 loss. He's 2 for 3 so far in the season, 67%. Sean 1 for 3.
Can you repeat that last part one more time?
1 for 3.
Yeah,
one win,
go.
2
There
losses.
we go.
Yeah.
The week 0 bloodbath is always tough. Thankfully, we don't get to include the Colorado bet that I had as my lock of the week for this week, and was the one that I was hammering. And also, I probably would have put on here Minnesota to win money line, but I didn't do that. So there's a little recoverability here. My first bet that I am really, really loving, Michigan State's playing FAU. Their line to cover is only 13 points. FAU, Tom Herman, making that team a little bit better. But hey, man, Jonathan Smith, Aiden Childs, I think that Michigan State team, not going to be a world beater. Not going to come out and have a ridiculous season. They're going to give teams a tough time. But are you kidding me? It's FAU. They can't win by more than 2 touchdowns? This is always one of the easiest ways to profit in sports betting, is to pick the teams that are assumed to be just dead bodies on the floor, that have a completely new coaching staff, that the books and the general public love to bet against. And they just like to think, oh, this team was bad last year, let's just ignore them. And you get for the first 4 weeks of the season, 5 weeks of the season to bet in their favor. So I'm going to take Michigan State minus 13 versus FAU.
You're going to have
That's great logic. You're
going to have to sell me on it a little more later in the week, I guess, off the show. Michigan State was the team that you bet against last year because
it's a new coaching staff.
I know it is.
No,
Wait.
Wait. 1 second. What was my reasoning for betting against them every single week?
They were bad. They had no coach. What was your reason?
It was the scandal special.
Oh,
you always bet against the team that fires their coach, especially if it's scandal related. Actually, I would argue even if they fire the coach, you don't bet against them. But if it's scandal related, those fucking kids don't want to be there.
I would have truly believed that if Northwestern last year didn't go 9-3 against the spread. Okay, and they had some scandal special themselves. Michigan State scandal special, a little bit different. That was the different scandal special. I'm a Aiden Childs believer. I really like him as a quarterback. I like Jonathan Smith as a head coach. It takes a little bit of time for Jonathan Smith to get the winning program at the new place, as we saw with his Oregon State records year by year. But eventually, when he gets it rolling, they really start rolling. I think that this Michigan State team, a 13-point favorite, scares the hell out of me. I will not take it, but you can take it. My first bet, Miami given 2.5 versus Florida. If we're going to start this Miami Hurricanes dominance tirade this season, it has to happen against Florida. 3-point spread is a pick 'em in my opinion. Not worried about it. Pick the winner here, Miami versus Florida. I pick Miami to win this game. I do. I trust the offense. Mario's probably going to do some dummy shit at some point in this game and frustrate me to no end. But I think Miami comes out of this thing with a win. Florida's desperate to get some early season wins before that last 5-game stretch. I don't care about that. I think Miami is a better team than Florida through and through.
Ron's got Miami too, so he's gonna mush you. I have this bet as well placed. You beat me to the punch of putting your bets down before me because I was stuck in the bathroom for a period of time. I think that this game Miami's going to win it. So to take them at the bare minimum to cover,
I could see myself getting fired up before kickoff of this game and teasing the line up to 5.
Oh, okay. Well, that's where you lose money. That's where you get trapped. Red Sea, good question here. As a Florida fan, how are we favored in any game? Well, okay. Actually, that's a good point. Florida's schedule is so tough that there's so many games that you kind of wonder how they could be favored in them. I think this is just a week 1 type of a line. There is a shot that Florida wins this game. There is a legitimate chance that they could, but I just lean Miami in this, and I think that Miami's going to have a tremendous year. That's a good betting pick. I'm actually going to give you props for once. I like my second one, West Virginia. I got this at plus 8.5 earlier on in the week. It's moved down to 7.5, so I'm taking it at 8.5 because it's where I placed the bet. I would still touch this at 7.5, even if it goes down to 7. I think that West Virginia is going to cover against Penn State. They're getting them at home. The amount of buzz and hype that they have where they're canceling schools. You got McAfee showing up. Everybody's losing their goddamn mind over this. By the way, somebody's been posting these clips of McAfee when he was 20. And the local media outlet in West Virginia or something gave him a microphone, let him walk around during the Fiesta Bowl media days. And he was going around saying, "Welcome to the Pat McAfee show," when he was 20. Doing his opens and lead ends the same exact way as he does it right now. It's the most uncanny, crazy thing that I've ever seen. Side tangent. But I really think I'm all in on West Virginia. Not so much that they win, but they're not going to lose by more than 2 scores in this game.
This game depends on how seriously Penn State wants to take themselves this year. If Drew Aller and that offense wants to be world beaters in the Big Ten, and they can decide this year to take the step up. James Franklin can decide to not make as many goofball decisions. And if they do that, it has to start in week 1 versus West Virginia. This is a telling game for both of these teams' seasons. West Virginia, the hype. I love that they canceled class and they're giving people time to get revved up for it. That stadium's going to be insane. I'm not touching this game with the 10-foot pole. I appreciate your confidence with it.
It's such a big line. This isn't a 3-point line. This is a huge line. There's so much leeway.
This is rat poison to me. I am not getting in. I am not getting in the boxing ring with 8.5 between West Virginia, a bunch of crazy people, versus Penn State, another group of crazy people. Not worth it, in my opinion. My second bet, I'll take you out to the lakefront, DeLeone. We'll watch the game with the ducks floating by, freezing our asses off in August somehow. Northwestern giving 3 to Miami, Ohio. Come on. The team caught fire. Okay, hold on. Air quotes fire at the end of the season because of Northwestern. But they worked exceptionally against the spread last season. So did Miami of Ohio. If anyone wants to play that Uno reverse card on me. Regardless, I'm a Braun believer. Northwestern had every opportunity last year to pack it in week 4, abandon the season, and have 1 win. They didn't do that. They believed in the coach. I know that the quarterback, who are they going to play? What are they going to be like? They return a lot of their starters. I think they return the second most starters in the Big Ten for an entire team.
Very experienced team.
Which is good for me. That in Miami of Ohio, good team. They in the MAC, they were competitive last year. They had some fun moments, fun games. But Northwestern giving 3, I like it a lot. And we were doing our Big Ten win preview shows. We had Northwestern, or at least it was over-unders, I think, win totals. I had this pegged as a win. And if I'm seeing another line at 3, that's a pick 'em to me. Northwestern giving 3.
Yeah, I like that one as well. It's kind of the only thing that's tough with this is that Miami of Ohio is a really good.
Yeah, I
MAC
like it
program.
as well until Miami of Ohio's up 17-0 midway through the second.
Yeah. I think that that's a good one. I mean, I literally just placed that bet because you said I hate that your bets are too normal this week. I need you to make a bad bet pick like you usually do.
You know, I was gonna come in here swinging on a chandelier with a Texas A&M bet, but I decided, look, let's just save it. Let's save some of the hostility today.
Last one that I've got here: Virginia Tech -13.5 versus Vandy. Blake tried to even bring this up and be like, oh, I bet you that Vanderbilt covers. No. What does Vanderbilt have? They got picked apart in the portal again. They don't have shit. They don't have anything. Virginia Tech, this defense is phenomenal. Kyron Drones, I think, is going to have a coming out party. This is the type of game where when you're Virginia Tech and you're trying to have a momentous year and you're trying to win the conference, seeing that Florida State struggles, you have the worst SEC team. So you have this opportunity to say, we're going to go out there, we're going to prove everybody wrong, and we're going to beat an SEC team. It's total just fake nonsense of, oh, look at us, we're beating up on the SEC team. Oh, yeah. But it's, you're beating up on the toddler of the family.
A little bit of Kirby Smart inspiration during the two back-to-backs.
I think that you look at this as an opportunity to say, hello, everybody. This is us. We're welcoming ourselves to the world of college football this year, and too many people have slept on us in the past. So I'm going to take Virginia Tech -13.5.
It's probably your least egregious bet that you have so far.
Oh, by the way, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Northwestern does have South Dakota State's old offense coordinator. I brought this up last night. That, to me, I think is a sleeping point that was not brought up into creating that line.
Are you saying Northwestern is a sleeping giant this season?
No. But for them to cover by 3 points against Miami of Ohio, I think their offense is going to be pretty good.
Gotcha. Well, I'll double down on that bet. I think Brandon Walker thought that Vandy was going to cover in this game, if I remember properly. Yeah, it's fine. It's a fine bet. It's a safe bet. Virginia Tech expected to be much better. Win by 2 touchdowns against a basement SEC team.
Yeah.
All right. I can't hate on that to my full extent. My final bet, JMU given 8.5 versus Charlotte. Oh, JMU got picked apart. JMU this, JMU new coach, blah, 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 blah. Don't care. Charlotte isn't playing anybody this game. Biff Pogge's been at the podium
This is a great pick.
all week talking about, we don't have 8 to 9 starters.
All my players are dead. I killed all of them.
We don't have and the reporting concerns. He's not saying who the starters are. He's not saying who's not going to be playing. I don't know if it's disciplinarian. I don't know if it's sickness. I'm not
No, he said that he has literally. He's like, I went too hard in training camp. All of my players are hurt.
Well,
We're
that's a
down 9.
disaster.
You didn't wait. You didn't know that was what he was talking about.
The last speculation I read in on that was that it could have been either or. But if Biff Poggi was literally running these guys into the dirt, then maybe Charlotte for a second half year comeback, but kicking it off with I guess what he did 6 weeks of two-a-days. JMU giving 8.5. I like that line a lot.
There's no such. His team's soft if they got hurt that easily. There's no such thing as hard practices in the year of 2024 when there's no two-a-days or any of that.
Yeah, it's all right. We're going back out on the field, and what are we in today? No helmets, scales. What are we? Oh,
Yeah.
we're just stretching in the hot sun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's probably what it was. We're gonna do a little bit of extra running after practice. A couple guys couldn't handle it. All right, that's our best bets for week 1. Let's see if I can maintain my lead. It doesn't shit. I don't know why I placed those bets in agreement with you, because now I'm going to be rooting for them. Hopefully we both go 3-0 on the weekend, knowing both of us we're going to go.
Yeah,
0-3.
as long as I don't tell anybody else about these bets, I think I'll be okay.
Yeah, you need to stop texting people your bets.
They're
You need to stop-
texting me. They're asking me what I'm working.
You know what I
with.
do when my buddies text me for college football bets? I say, screw off. I'm not letting you get in on my bets. I get the whole, you want your buddies to be on your bets, and I know that we're sharing them here to our audience. We're sharing it with you guys because of the competitive nature between us, and then for us to lament about it and complain about it. We're not encouraging you to take these. If you want to take them, you can. You absolutely can. But nothing annoys me more than when somebody else has my bet and my bet doesn't hit. It's a jinx. It's an auto
you jinxed
jinx.
me by calling me an auto mush last night in Minnesota.
You
if
didn't
you had
need to
brought
bet.
better vibes into that bet,
I didn't
idiot
give you
would have made the
permission.
kick.
I didn't give you permission.
I don't need
I don't need to have good vibes.
Who are you, the Grand Poobah of permissions?
Yeah,
Give me a break.
yeah. No, you can't say to me if I had a better vibe going into it, it would have hit when you didn't ask me and say, hey, I'm going to place this Minnesota bet. Is that cool? And I would have said no.
You put a negative energy in the air.
That
last
was on
night
you.
as
You
soon as
set
I
it
tried
up
to
for a
snipe
negative
line.
energy.
I told you it might be a
set
line
that
sniping
up.
night.
Snipe
Stink.
something else.
You
Snipe
stink. I'll
something
snipe
else.
you.
Snipe Arkansas to cover or something. I don't know, man.
They did.
Yeah, yeah. Wonder who else is gonna put
Poor
70
Pine
points
Bluff,
on the board.
man.
All right, let's get to a little bit of NFL news that we're gonna get to and possibly wrap up with this. Brandon Ayuk gets his new massive contract, 4 years, 120 million, 76 million guaranteed, and he's going to be there until 2028. So I think it just general face value, Brandon Ayuk has earned the contract. It's good that this whole situation is freaking over. I will say some people were crying about how like, oh, I'm so sick of the beefs with the fake Twitter abbies. I thought that was hilarious. I thought that was one of the best things that happened during all this, is that all these accounts that had very little sourcing kept reporting on it, and everybody was saying it with such certainty. I love it when nobody's right, and then it goes to the point of, I think it was Rappaport or was it Pelissero?
I saw my guy Marco Martinez taking a big victory lap last night. He said, "All right, everyone, take it easy. I'm calling it. Tonight's the night." And then everyone said, "Marco the GOAT. Marco never misses." Okay.
There is I forget what the one was it Pretty Ricky's the one guy who's got the dog Abby that's got, he typically
you're close on. Yeah,
he outsources a lot of these insiders. There was some fantasy idiot who every time something would happen, he would tweet like a graphic and then would be like, oh, there breaking news. Brandon Ayuk is possibly close to being traded or returning to the 49ers. Like the same joke over and over again. The first time, like, all right, man, we get it. You're trying to play into the bit that nobody really knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
That was annoying. I don't really get this roster building approach by the 49ers. That's where my direction immediately goes here, because they still have to pay Trent Williams. They still have to pay Brock Purdy, as much as that hurts me to say out loud. I don't know how they're going to put themselves in a position in 2025 to be able to keep everybody. They're going to have to push people out the door. They showed a graphic of their starting offensive line. Without Trent Williams, it's terrible. It's really freaking bad.
They always make do, though, man. They had a guard that they drafted this year. I'm forgetting his name.
Dominic Puny.
Maybe.
From Kansas. Yeah, he stinks. I watched plenty of him, and I saw plenty of preseason clips of him, and he's not very good.
Baldy had a good breakdown on him. He had a really good start in the preseason. I know it's preseason. This Ayuk whole saga was so sleepy to me. I had so little invested in it, because he's going to go to the Steelers and get buried in that offense, or he's going to go to the Commanders and be good, be a good number 2 receiver there, and then it's he wants to get paid as a 1, even though Terry McLaurin is better than him and he is a 1. Him staying with San Francisco felt inevitable from the start, especially that he still picked up the original offer that they gave him at the beginning of this hold-in.
Wait, is this really the original offer?
Original offer. That's what Schefter said. There was no adjustments. He just ended up accepting the original offer. So he wanted to go out, test the
I
market,
didn't know that part.
possibly get some more money. But yeah, if I was Brandon Ayuk, why would I want to go to a different team?
Wait, hold on 1 second. We need to take a step. For absolute certainty, it was the original offer.
I'll check the Schefter tweet right now. I'll double check it, but I'm pretty sure it was.
Okay, because if that was the original offer, what the shit? Yeah, wait, same deal that San Francisco offered since August 12th.
Yeah, same deal. Yeah.
Why did you go through all of this? Why? What was the point of this?
It all felt like
What was the point?
It felt like it was futile from the start because San Francisco, if they like a player, they will pay a player.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah. If this was the offer, you should have just jumped on it. I don't know if he was waiting for CeeDee Lamb to reset the market, but you didn't have 100+ catches and 1,800 yards like CeeDee Lamb did last year, Brandon Ayuk.
Well, he still had a great season.
I know he had a great season, but there's levels to this. Is he a top 10 receiver in the league? Not in my opinion. He's getting paid like it.
I mean, he is a great receiver, and that's why I have no problems with him getting the contract.
Neither do I. I just think that the whole way that this transpired made him look like more of a heel.
Well, but that's my whole point is like, why were you putting up this fight and this isn't like they're showing Jamar Chase on ESPN to our left right now. Jamar Chase hasn't been public about his new contract. CeeDee Lamb was a little public, mostly because Jerry Jones,
Was equally as public, if not more public.
Was more public and required him to respond to it. Okay. Ayuk did everything that he did deliberately. Yeah. He posted the videos of him on TikTok watching film and him with Jaden Daniels and all of these overly dramatic, ridiculous things that he was doing throughout this process for him to take the same deal that was offered to him in August.
It's nuts. I don't know why. It should have just been, hey, let's get the football. All right, I like this deal. This is a good deal. 4 years, $120 million. That's massive money for a wide receiver. A wide receiver who has been vying for the 1 and 2 spot with Deebo Samuel on his team for the last 2 years. Yeah, he made really good strides last year and became a guy they could really depend on. But that San Francisco offense is a true committee. Christian McCaffrey gets paid. He should. George Kittle gets paid. He should. He's been an elite tight end in the league for a while. Honestly, he might have to be the one to go next year. Debo's probably going to be on the outs after the money they paid Ayuk. They're going to have to do something in the draft. Maybe Ricky Pearsall becomes the dude. I'm not so sure. They had the pieces. They capitulated, but they kept the team together. Maybe it's Super Bowl or bust for them this season. It has to be.
Okay, just to get back to the original point that I had. At what point, and I am not a cap expert, and I hate trying to figure out how this is going to impact them in the future, because teams, especially like the Rams are a great example, find ways to circumvent it, and the money just gets pushed around, and then you're kind of thinking to yourself, well, how did they afford to keep this guy? There's so many gymnastics that you can do to work around it. But it seems like they are putting themselves in a really difficult spot where they're not truly prioritizing like who needs to stay. This is not Belichickian in the roster building where we're going to keep the premier positions, but we're not going to really overpay anyone that wants to be overpaid. And if you do want to get overpaid, we're just going to push you out the door and find your replacement for cheaper that can play just as good as you. I'm not asking the 49ers to do that, but for a team that's maximized the value of guys that weren't really first rounders, I'm starting to wonder, like, at what point does paying these big contracts catch up to them? At what point do they need to start prioritizing? I really don't think that there's a way for them to keep Trent Williams. Trent Williams is much older, though.
Yeah, he is. I think that they save a lot of money by drafting so well on defense, where every couple years they can just reload, and it's another Pro Bowl safety. It's another All-Pro linebacker. They find a defensive end or a defensive tackle that changes the dynamic, and maybe you have to pay the Bosa, you have to pay the Fred Warner, but the other 9 positions, maybe they pay Hafunga in the safety position. I think they should. He's a difference maker.
I push back on that. I feel like, I mean, how often do these safety contracts pan out?
That's a good point. Not often. I've been happy with Atlanta's new safety contracts.
Yeah, but that's such a one-on-one, one-of-one type of a situation to get like the premier guy.
I guess it's different. I guess you do need young legs every single year at that safety position. There's not many Eric Weddles floating around back there that are just kind of drifting, field managing, and then getting burned over the top. Like, that's not a luxury you can have, especially if you need to play a team like Miami late in the season.
Last thing I just want to get to before we wrap up, Mike McDaniel's new contract that he received from the Dolphins, extended to 2028. He has a 20-14 record, and it's worth noting that since 2000 that they haven't had a coach that's been there for more than 5 years. God, I'm not going to be able to pronounce this. Dave Wanstead, who was 42-31. Since then, it's been just a collection of at 500, below 500. Adam Gase's, Joe Philbins of the world that
Flores was over 500, but he wasn't there for long.
Yeah, and it sounds like the reasoning for him leaving was just for toxic environment, if what Tua is claiming is true or not. I think that from the outside, it's easy to criticize and to say, oh, what has Mike McDaniel really done to earn this? Yes, their offense is great, but when have they shown up at the playoffs? Like, those are fair criticisms. But I'll always come back to, for anyone who, and you and I are both fans of teams that have not had consistency at quarterback and not had consistency at head coach recently. Having a good head coach, it's hard to find a great one, but having a good head coach and a good quarterback is better than not having one at all and trying to start over and entering the ambiguous void that is trying to guess if the next hire is the right one. There's just too much volatility in the success of finding someone who is going to produce results on the field. Mike McDaniel has earned this. I don't think that there's many people pushing back on it. Do you not agree with that?
I agree. On paper, Mike McDaniel, I would say, is a good NFL head coach, and he shows me things with the scheme that I haven't seen before. Players rave about him. This Miami Dolphins team seems to really love him, which I think it has tremendous value. Having chemistry with your coach and your team to have a belief in a guy, massive. It's not just some sturgid old man in there or some Cliff Kingsbury thinks he knows it all. He obviously has an effect on this team to try to get the most out of them. I think that we get overreactions from big coaching contracts and extensions if they feel a little overzealous. And this one did. Miami hasn't had a playoff win since December 30th, 2000. It's been 24 years. I would have preferred to have seen a playoff win before the extension, but now I need a playoff. Now we have pigeonholed ourselves into a box where it needs to be a playoff win this year for Mike McDaniel, or else now the pressure of he just got extended. We just got bounced in the first round again. Now we're going on 25 years without a playoff win. You are putting yourself in a position where you can turn the fans against you quickly with a playoff loss. And I know and I'm in the category of thinking Miami doesn't get it done in the playoffs. They're not equipped to play in the cold weather. And until they get a win like that, or they have home field advantage and they're good enough, then I'll be able to change my tune. But right now, it still feels overzealous. You needed someone to break the streak. I think McDaniel can do it eventually. And if that's the bet you're putting on the contract, you may say it's a smart play. I still find it to be overzealous. And something like this, the fans, I think, would resonate with that side of the logic.
The problem is, though, if you don't extend him and then his contract ends and you decide not to bring him back, then you enter into the territory of, this is where I think teams get trapped. And it's exactly what's happening with Dak Prescott with the Cowboys of, okay, well, maybe we don't think that this guy is all the way where we want him to be. He's 3/4 of the way there. We're happy with the results, but we need to get over the hump. We want to win a Super Bowl. We want to win playoff games. We want to be a premier top 3 team in the NFL. Banking on and hoping that there's something better out there does not always pan out. It's just like, you break up with your girlfriend because you think that you're going to find something better, and then you're single and you realize that, hey, I ain't got shit going on for me. I can't believe that I'm now single, and I put on all this weight when I was dating someone. It's like the same thing. You think that you're better than you are and you're deserving of more, when in reality you have the best opportunity that you've had in a very long time. I think that precedent, yes, they haven't won a playoff game since 2005, but what has preceded them, all of the inconsistency at head coach and also the up and down seasons that they've had prior to it, I think is enough to say, all right, it feels like we're moving in the right direction for once. This
agree.
guy is going to push us in that right direction.
They had some awful years. They had the Beck years, the Henny years. It didn't work in Miami for so long. They were so depleted with talent for a long time, and now the last couple years they've replenished and they built a new team. They still can't get the defense, at least the defensive line or linebackers right. The defensive backfield always picks it up in the second half. I'm not worried about them. It's just as a culture in a whole, can they do it this year? I'll have to see who their first round matchup is. I think they make the playoffs. I'm not worried about Miami being a team that makes it, even though I should be, given the dumpster fire that happened at the end of the season last year. But I'm not going to deviate from the on paper and what I've seen from them. I think eventually it does click. I just would have rather seen payments when it clicks or after I see it click.
And I don't know what the timetable was, if they had to pay him, give him the extension now, or if they could have done it next season. I think naturally, and it goes again with the quarterback contracts, if it isn't resolved, it becomes a distraction. So resolve it now,
That's
move
fair.
forward. Everybody's locked in. Everybody's focused. Everybody is moving in the correct direction. And it's similar to the Tua thing. You know, it's similar to how everyone was like, did Tua really deserve the contract that he just got? Probably not, but is it better to have certainty at the position than to hope that you can go and draft somebody or bring in a free agent that might not gel with your roster or might not work with your scheme? There's just so many ifs when you know the certainty that you actually have.
The problem with certainty in Tua is that it's oxymoronic.
Why is it oxymoronic?
Because you don't know if Tua is going to be the guy. You still don't know. There's certainty that he will be the starter. He's good enough to be a starter for your team.
Wait.
But is he certainty to continue to improve, get better, and be a quarterback that can lead a deep playoff run? If not, then we're just sitting here pulling our putts.
Everything in sports can be related back to some analogy with dating. If anyone who's been in a locker room, in a meeting room,
we got the love doctor here.
Well, no, but seriously, anyone who's been in a meeting room, coaches love to use those analogies, and it applies to what you just said. Oh, he's proven he's not the guy. It's the same thing as guys or girls going around hoping that they find the one. There's no such thing as that. You're never going to find somebody that checks every goddamn box.
God.
Seriously,
getting scorned to DeLeone.
It's
love it real.
No.
It's the chemicals and how we've been built to reproduce.
Don't distract from the point that I'm making. I'm making a good fucking point
I'm
here.
not saying you're not.
It is impossible to find something. It is much better to have something than it is to have nothing, and then to hope that you can find the greatest thing ever. To find the Patrick Mahomes, to find the Josh Allens, that is freaking hard. To find the Andy Reids, to find the Bill Belichicks is freaking hard. The amount of failure that goes into the cycle of trying to find that guy is endless.
Yes, but as a fan base, you need something like that to get a Super Bowl. You just do. You need the one to get a Super Bowl. And I need my team to continue searching for the one until I'm certain that we have it. The Texans were searching and searching and searching. Now they got Stroud. They have their one, and I'm happy for them, and I'm going to see them go and make good things happen together. But they kept playing that lottery, and from the fan standpoint, all I want is a ticket. That's all I want. Was I disappointed we didn't get a player that could start immediately instead of Michael Penix?
Luck more
creating
than
a bunch
anything.
of madness on in the second string this year for Atlanta? Yes, but I like that I had the lottery ticket to look forward to. I haven't scratched off the numbers yet. I have hope. That's what the NFL fan wants. They want to have a chance to have that guy at quarterback be the one that leads them to the promised land.
The Kirk Cousins thing's insane because to another analogy time, it's like having a fiance and then openly being like, all right, when I'm sick of you, I've got this 20-year-old that I'm just going to kind of
George and Marissa Tomei.
That's going to hang out with us.
It's Marissa Tomei. I have to go.
Oh God. That's going to wrap us up on, folks. We're going to be back live on our normal schedule. We might do these at noon Eastern time. I don't know. I felt like more people showed up at the end than they did at the beginning. So maybe we'll start doing these at noon on Fridays. And then we're going to stick to Monday and Wednesday nights, assuming I don't get sick again. At Joe DeLeone, at Sanderson Radio, at Hack City Pod on Twitter. Hit the subscribe button. Leave us a 5-star review on audio, and we will talk to you